On today's episode of The Glue Guys, listen, I am triggered. I am Brian.
Whoa.
I'm triggered.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
I am a fan of the Bill Simmons podcast, and Bill and Ryan Russillo on the most recent pod talked about Kyrie trade buzz. Kyrie trade buzz. And,
Not this already. Not this already.
It's happening.
Let's get it. Let's chop it
gonna
up
get
on
into
the
it.
show.
Welcome back to The Glue Guys. This is Mike here. Say what, Brian?
Hello.
Oh, hello. Check us out on Twitter at BKGlueGuys. NetsDaily.com. The Athletic. Get yourself behind that paywall at theathletic.com/GlueGuys. Oh, subsidiary of the New York Times Company. Brian.
Michael.
The Kyrie trade buzz is back. How are you?
Oh, I'm buzzing. I'm good. I have a lot of stuff. I have a bad background. I have a blurry background because I had to move in some things from. I was using the hallway as storage, Mike. Son of a gun. Give me an inch, I'd take a mile.
You've been pushed out of your home.
I've been double dipping on the storage space in the hall because I'm on the top floor, Mike. And in the penthouse, that means you use the hall as your storage space, but not until then. Anyways,
most people don't know. Steve Nash lives in Brian's building, and Brian has. That's how wealthy Brian is from all of his business endeavors. Which I won't. Should I name how you've accumulated your wealth? Anyways,
yeah, please do.
Brian,
Yeah.
let's get right into the meat of this, okay? Let's Katz's Deli this situation and get right into the corned beef. Because here's what's happening. Okay, let me paint the picture for you. This is what a term in radio we called painting the picture. Okay? Because it's a podcast, it's an audio format. People can't see us, though they could on the YouTube. Smash the subscribe.
Hammerjack the like.
Hammerjack the like and hammerjack that ass.
Yes.
Anyways, so I have a podcast app on my phone. I'm very fancy that way. And, it's a Monday morning. A lot of pods drop on Monday mornings. Smartless, Conan, and so does Bill Simmons. Bill typically does, or first name basis with Bill. Bill typically does a Sunday night pod, particularly if the Celtics are going to be playing in the NBA Finals. So I refresh my podcast app this morning, and up pops the Bill Simmons podcast with Ryan Russillo. And, of course, the first segment is about the Warriors-Celtics Game 2, which the Celtics lost.
Saw that.
And I will.
That was good.
I do, as an aside, people really appreciated our net-centric view of the NBA Finals.
Did they?
They
They
really
liked it?
seemed to connect with trying to figure out which team to support.
I think we set them straight. We got one tweet. And that speaks for everybody. That's how we use social media. The right way.
So the second segment was titled something like Kyrie Trade Buzz. Oh, no, Brian. So I have to listen. Of course, I have to listen. So I go to the JCC, go to the gym, doing some hammer curls, trying to get my inner Ryan Russillo satisfied here.
I was going to say you look a little swole today. Sorry, go ahead. Continue. Yeah.
Feel good about myself. Okay, and this is what here's the meat of it, and then there's a long discussion after this. But Bill Simmons is at the finals, and he tends to do this thing where he says things are floating around here. It seems like it's a big topic of what's going to happen with Kyrie and where he is going to go. And Simmons added that there's some Lakers buzz with him, and that even Bill Simmons himself is trying to figure out how it would ever happen because it is such a thorny thicket of salary cap nonsense.
Right.
I mean, it's very easy if you believe the Nets would want Russell Westbrook. I don't believe that. I don't think anyone believes that.
No. Was that quoted out there?
What's that?
The Russell Westbrook thing?
No, but it's okay. It's not the Lakers aren't going to trade LeBron, even though we say LeBron's going to go to Brooklyn. They wouldn't trade him for like Kyrie if they trade him.
No,
I don't think.
make sense.
They're not trading for Anthony Davis. That would be quite insane. That would be literally LeBron saying Anthony Davis is a beta. I got to be with that alpha dog, Kyrie.
Yeah.
Big alpha Kyrie. The solo GTA 5 Kyrie on Twitch, which is one of my favorite things you ever brought to my attention.
It's good nuance.
So then what's the other piece? It's Westbrook. Westbrook going probably to a third team, and Kyrie going to Lakers, and whatever that third team is would be sending, I guess, multiple assets to the Brooklyn Nets. Here's the big overall thing that we're going to talk about. We're going to look at this from all angles.
We always do.
I know reflexively we want to feel, oh, Bill Simmons doesn't know what he's talking. Like we want to be so mad and angry.
But Mike, we've learned a lot over the years. We've done this. We're couple of old dogs, dirty podcasting dogs, and we've been through the ringer a few times. We came out hot when Harden when there was buzz about Harden, Mike, didn't we?
Yeah.
Did we learn a lesson? Did we step on a bit of a rake there?
Well, the two things I know in life now are you don't commit to a land war in Southeast Asia. Is that one of the tenets of life now?
Yeah.
And trust the gossip mongerers to a degree. Okay.
And we want to highlight this, guys.
Yes.
To a degree. This is not. If you're going to come at us in the mentions on Twitter with some black and white stuff, you're getting left on red, okay? Because we don't do black and white here. This is Shades of Gray kind of podcast, kaleidoscopic, three-dimensional viewpoints on everything. It's rigorous stuff, okay?
And this podcast is sponsored by The Gray Man, a movie coming out on Netflix, directed by the Russo brothers of Endgame fame, starring Ryan Gosling and Chris Evans. They are personally sponsoring
the way that you said
this
that,
podcast.
it sounded like it was a real spot. For a second, I was like, is that a real sponsorship? I can't
really
tell.
ready. I think it's like July 7th. Not that I'm tracking when this is coming out. Which I'm not. That's so lame.
That is insane. But go on.
We need to trust. Talk about the grayness. We need to trust the grayness of the gossip mongers.
Yeah.
Because here's what happened. You talk about the Harden thing. Man, did I poo-poo the Harden trade rumors so hard. Let's say a month before the trade happened.
I was there. I was poo-pooing even harder. I was there with the X-Lax too. Man, we were getting crazy. Okay.
I had the Midol. You had the X-Lax.
Yeah.
I was just eating rice. What is it? Rice, applesauce, bananas, and something else. BART, I believe, is the acronym.
Okay.
Bananas, apples.
Brat. The
brat.
Brat.
Well, it could be BART. You know what I'm saying?
But it's for brats. That's you're being bratty about food. That's the double entendre.
We poo-pooed. Okay. And we ended up being I remember Nick Wright was actually just about the first person to talk about this. And if you remember, I think it was 2 episodes ago, we poo-pooed Nick Wright because Nick had a Kyrie trade rumor, like a hypothetical three-way trade where Kyrie would be going to Team X, and I think Malcolm Brogdon and Miles Turner would be coming to the Brooklyn Nets. It was something like that. Mm-hmm. And we were like, oh, Nick Wright's so dumb. I said, even though I went to, we went to college with Nick, and I actually know him very a little bit. Oh, we're peers. You were peers. Yeah. So I want to take a different tack this time around. Bill Simmons is not a Pulitzer award-winning reporter. He's not of the New York Times like us. We're men of the Gray Lady. He is of the world of the Ringer and the internet and the dark web. Yeah. Right. But sometimes those dark web, coastal media elites know things that us men of gray do not.
I think the dark web and the coastal media. Anyways, I don't want to scrutinize this too much.
Yeah, it's the same thing, right? It's the same thing. Ultimately, the same thing.
Yeah.
So here's what I will say to Nets fans listening to this podcast. While it may seem ridiculous that Bill Simmons is making up trades for Kyrie Irving to go to Team X, where it's like the trade proposals that he's coming up with, it's the John Wall for Kyrie. It's Jalen Brunson double sign and trade where, though I like Jalen Brunson going to Brooklyn and Kyrie going to Dallas. It's things like that. And it reflexively, we want to be like, oh, he's a Boston guy. He's so dumb. I just want to tell people they need to start listening to the whispers in the air regarding Kyrie Irving. We are hearing there's too much smoke that is coming out. And some of the fire starters are deep within the Nets organization. One of them being Sean Marks, who, 4 weeks ago, comes out and basically, here, I have the quote right in front of me. We're looking for guys that want to come in here and be part of something bigger than themselves, play selfless, play team basketball, and be available. That goes for not only Kyrie, but for everyone. And he talks about team chemistry and how guys actually need to play basketball.
You can tell, Kyrie.
This is a precarious situation.
It's a very interesting thing to name Kyrie by name there. We didn't highlight this enough at the time, but I get the sense that Kyrie does not like the feeling of being called into the principal's office, in this way. That's not a vibe that he probably gravitates towards. It's it's a necessary yet slightly bold maneuver if Sean Marks is looking to actually work with Kyrie long term. It's a rap on the knuckles, Mike, is what that is.
Okay, so
As minor a rap as you could possibly give, but like a rap nonetheless.
I like to be called into the principal's office.
Did you?
There was a sexual tension between me and Dr.
Whoa.
Patillo.
Whoa.
You don't even know Dr. Patillo. That's what makes it funny.
Doxed the never mind. I don't want to touch this. But Mike,
She was a great principal, a fantastic principal, and I had
for whom there was sexual tension with, which is wildly inappropriate.
She made me eat lunch with her for a month. So, anyways, let's get back to the task at hand.
Okay.
These are facts, but also I'm shading.
Sure.
I called you immediately this morning. You're like, how are we going to continue this? Why did
I don't know.
Why did I say this stuff?
It's good. It's staying in. Keep it going.
The funny thing is,
I tried to keep it in, and then
listen to this podcast, and they're like, Mike, you shouldn't say those things publicly. I called you this morning. I told you about the rumor that I heard via Bill Simmons, friend of the show. How much should we be trusting these gray men of the gossip mongers?
Bill Simmons is connected to Kyrie in what ways? I mean, like, are there any like meaningful? I mean,
There's a very meaningful way that he is connected.
Okay.
He is friends with Steve Nash.
Right.
So it's not that. So here's what's interesting, and I wanted to dissect this. Where are the rumors coming from? Right. That is always the best way to figure out information.
We got to go Charlie Day on this. We got to get the red felt out.
Kyrie is like kind of a man to himself. His agent is his aunt or his stepmom or something like that at this point. He's not part of Nike anymore. He's not part of CAA or UTA or Clutch or any of these big agencies. Yeah. He is basically Kyrie Irving, his Twitch stream, his Instagram feed, and his mother-in-law or stepmom, who, like, I'm not like discounting that she is his agent. I'm just saying she is a single entity. She's not part of a larger infrastructure.
Yeah.
KD has Rich Kleiman, and it's just KD and Rich. Now, KD's well connected, but ultimately they are also, it's like very clear, like if you get Rich Kleiman, which Bill Simmons definitely knows Rich Kleiman very well, you have that connection there. The people that Bill Simmons is connected to is Steve Nash. And frankly, can I be honest? If Bill Simmons shows up at the NBA Finals, he's at that level where like owners are going up and talking to Bill Simmons.
He's going to pick some stuff up.
So let's. All this is just to say we need to be aware that what we've envisioned in our mind as the big three: Ben Simmons, Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving. I think there's an increasingly less chance that we see those three on the floor together going into the next season as these things are accumulating.
Can I add a layer of complexity on this? One more?
Please. Yes.
To what level do we think, if there's a incentive to put rumors out into the ethos, the world, what is the benefits, the pros and cons to having Bill Simmons catch wind of something like this that could be, negotiation posturing, something like that from either side. Obviously this would be from the net side if this is the case.
Sure.
I'm just trying to think about this from all, like, truly, literally all. It's a tesseract of options here, Mike, and I just want to see all the sides.
So it would actually be to Kyrie's advantage that there seems to be a trade market for Kyrie, right? Because the thing that he controls is he has the player option. He can decide to decline his option and become a free agent and join any team in the league for whatever price he chooses, essentially, right? Like there's a cluster of teams who are all bad. The Pistons, Magic, Pacers, the Spurs. The Spurs are kind of good. Trailblazers and Thunder, who have the cap space to sign Kyrie outright.
But Phil Knight did just put in an offer on the Trailblazers. Would be funny if that's
he did.
One of
but
the
who
few.
Also just basically fired Kyrie.
Right.
Nike.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
That's rude. Yeah. Oh, okay. I noticed. Okay.
Yeah.
So Kyrie can make these decisions, and Kyrie, like, it gives him some leverage if it seems like there's this like mass market for Kyrie Irving out there. It doesn't really help the Nets if there's this idea that they just want to get rid of him regardless. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't help them to put out the smoke signals that like they're fine to move on for Kyrie, unless if it's like they do want to try to build, like, I don't know, I don't know. What do you think? As I'm talking about it, seems kind of
I'm like
neither side wins.
The idea that like I think it's a little bit of a game of chicken. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what like actual stakes are involved in terms of getting someone to agree to like show up to work. Like you would actually need to put something into writing, which is a strange thing. But like there is a level of I'm wondering if the Nets aren't challenging him to be like, okay, yeah, go talk to go feel around the Trailblazers. Like that's a weird team for him, like for a lot of reasons to be on, not the least of which is like Nike's connection to it now suddenly. But just like from a personnel position, like there's a lot of redundancies with Damian Lillard, who they're super in bed with, whatever the whole case. It's just like there's not a whole lot of
two more opposite dudes personality wise, but two like very similar on the court.
Totally.
Ultimately.
Right. And then like the idea that Kyrie is going to like, I don't know, go from this pretty like PR damaging last 3 years to then like playing in, the hinterlands of the NBA on a max contract to like, it just doesn't, none of that follows my understanding of what he sees for himself as he's building this narrative of his life.
What do you see him?
I think he like, I think he's got, it's very difficult to understand. And again, I have to put on my dime store psychologist hat, which I'm always wearing. Actually, I don't take that one off often. Yeah. But for me, it's like, there's a savior complex that's still very much on the table with regards to a Brooklyn Nets resurgency. Like if I had to see it his way, I think like, for a lot of reasons, I think Brooklyn's a good place for him. And I also think specifically like for just players in general, like Kevin Durant signing on and the way that he did without any fuss or anything like that kind of suggests that like, we have the ability to retain the highest echelons of talent. Like whatever game is involved in playing that, like we're doing it in some version of it.
At one point, and then James Harden's the other side. Yeah, but I have to throw in the James Harden caveat. But it's a big deal that Kevin Durant.
In my opinion, the James Harden thing is a data point against Kyrie Irving more so.
I haven't heard that before.
More than in favor of Kevin Durant. When weighing that out, and it's a 55-45 deal there. It's a narrow margin, but anyways, so like whatever game that entails of placating egos, whatever it is, we seem to be doing it. And you don't sign Kevin Durant doesn't seamlessly resign with a team like without any kind of fuss, unless it's actually going pretty smoothly on that level. Sure. So anyways, there's a lot of signs that say that like it's really, I don't know. I don't want to say posturing, but there is a little bit of a dare going on to be like, okay, yeah, go take that, leave the option on the table and go explore your options and out there and see what comes back, because I don't think it's going to fit into his view of his arc.
It's like when your employer, when you ask for a raise and they're like, we can't give you a raise, but you can look for other jobs. Go out there, go look for other jobs. And you come back 2 months later, you're like, yeah, nothing really happened.
So funny enough, your offer is actually like, it's not bad. We can work on that. So maybe that's the case. I don't know. Obviously we're just reading tea leaves, but
You know what's funny? Here's what do you think the Nets want from Kyrie Irving? They want him to play basketball.
Yeah.
That's all that with this whole quote from Sean Marks that we keep referencing, and it's a big quote. It's why it's important about that guys need to be part of something bigger than themselves, play selfless, play team basketball, and be available. All that stuff is like peewee basketball stuff, right? Like all of that is that embedded in the bedrock of sport, which is, hey, we're a team. Why don't we just like show up together and play games together? Like at a certain point, the sort of all the other varied interests, while important they may be in the pursuits of, criminal justice and all of that, what the Nets really, really want is just for Kyrie Irving to play basketball.
Yeah.
Like they're not asking him to really sacrifice on the court on any level, because when Kyrie's on the court, he is 35-5. He's an engine for the offense. While him and Kevin Durant haven't figured out sort of the way to increase each other's powers by being on the court, both of them together on the court operating within like some nice role players is pretty good. And I just think
it's okay.
There needs to be more continuity, but that's what goes back to I think there's a level of faith in the Nets organization. Maybe I shouldn't even say this anymore, but that if Kyrie played full time and Kevin Durant played full time, and we had a full season of those guys playing together, the team would be better than what we saw in the playoffs.
I also want to say like one other like data point in there is that like there has been already like there's been a divergence in the stories of Kevin Durant and Kyrie already by virtue of Kevin Durant signing. Like anyone who's sort of being like, oh, they're tied together because they're such good friends or whatever, like Kevin Durant's already played his cards. That's already, locked in. And so if he's for better or worse, he's suggesting to both the world and Kyrie that like, okay, my path is pretty locked in, despite like, or obviously things can go wrong, whatever, that's always superstars going to superstar, but that was like the first sort of data point for like, okay, we are not tethered together inextricably to the end of the time. Like I can actually just sign this contract and have it not be a thing. You and James Harden are going to go do your thing, hope you guys sign on, but like I'm not going to be privy to that part of the this continued sort of tug of war on this thing.
I want to examine that a little bit closer. But let's do this. Let's take a break. And I want to talk about, and this is from you, are Kevin Durant and Kyrie actually best friends? Let's talk about. Let's analyze their friendship from a distance.
I like that.
And we're back, Brian.
Mike,
this is a segment you brought up in our pre-show phone conversation, and I love it. And it did get my wheels turning. Let's analyze this a little bit. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Are they actually like the narrative is that they are interwoven together. They are followers of, bucket getting, the religion of bucket getting. But are they actually as good of friends? And you were talking about this before the break about there's some dissonance, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, maybe to call it dissonances. I mean, let's bring our own friendship into perspective, Mike. As we talked about this, it's good to have a parallel. And Mike and I are best buds. We've been through the ringer together. I held his hair back while he barfed. Not the actual ringer.
I've interviewed with him a few times.
The Athletic. And it brought us to New York Times together. So
yeah,
we're producing Pulitzer Prize winning content. And we've been through the ringer together. Mike has held my hair back while I got sick, at the big frat party. I did that
Brian,
for him.
While I was pledging a fraternity and I was not allowed to eat anything but hot dogs, Brian got me Chinese food and snuck it in to me.
That's true.
I do remember that.
Did that actually happen?
You actually ordered me the $6 lunch special General Tso's chicken. Wow. The reason why I know that is because that would be the only thing I would have eaten.
Wow, I'm so nice. I don't remember. Anyways, that's the kind of friendship that we have, Mike. Do you think
it was born in the cauldron of being on the same floor freshman year of college, living together sophomore year, and then this podcast?
Do you know why
that's a hot cauldron?
I have a hot take, and this is going to take us slight aside. I have a hot take on why those friendships are so formative for young men in particular. Is because when you're a young man in college, and now you've gone from being a senior in high school, there's a certain level of faux quasi status that you're projecting onto yourself as like, I'm a senior in high school, and I've got a car, and I know this town like the back of my hands, and I'm the oldest kid in my school or whatever.
Or you're wearing a leather jacket.
And you're wearing a leather jacket.
I know this town like the back of my hand.
You're smoking so many Newports, it's crazy. And then you go to college.
Bottles and
then you go to college, and you live in a jail cell, and you have no friends, and you have no car, and you have no money, and
the food sucks. It's fucking. It's freezing outside.
Not only does no one want to talk to you, you are disgusting. Nobody wants anything to do with you.
There's no question. You are you are.
You are at the all of the your peers who might be ostensibly you would want to date them. There's seniors in high school who have they have real IDs, not fake IDs that get turned away at the door at a 90% clip. You're up against some stiff competition, and anyways, that's why I think those bonds of friendship are extremely close, because it is a cauldron. It is truly a cauldron. You have no resources, and nobody likes you, and nobody wants you around. So we did that together.
And look at the way Kyrie and Kevin Durant formed their friendship. They're flying PJs. Yeah. They're eating nice dinners. How truly deep of a friendship could you have if everything was sunshine and roses? No, there needs to be some. There needs to be some ugliness there.
This is why I have another theory about people from the Mediterranean aren't funny. It's too nice. The weather's too nice. When there's sunshine and roses.
Whoa. Okay, let me just back. How have you had this theory?
Have you ever
met a lot of Mediterranean people and you're like,
not funny? I've met enough, and I just don't. I don't think they have a good sense of humor. It's a prejudice. It's a bias. Come at me. Come cancel me.
Those Portuguese. Man,
weather's
can they
too
play
nice.
soccer? But do they not know their way around a joke?
I'm sure there's like one or two Greek comedians out there or something that I'm overlooking. But by and large, these are my biases. Okay. But anyways,
What's the Italian American organization that like they really defend Columbus Day? They were in The Sopranos, right? Wasn't there some?
Yes, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They're
they're
gonna
like
come after
defending
us.
Christopher Columbus. The only funny thing that I've heard was, do you remember Scaramucci? Is that what his name was?
Yeah, great guy.
When he said he didn't even know,
I know.
he didn't even say this as a joke, but it was he got offended on Twitter because somebody called him the living embodiment of a pinky ring. And I was like, that's funny. You should have. Anyways, sorry, we're way off topic.
Speaking of Kevin Durant, so I think this is why this conversation is important. We can classify this as an important conversation, and you just talked about this. There's a belief amongst Nets fans that Kevin and Kyrie are so close that Kevin Durant controls the franchise. So if he wants Kyrie Irving to be back, and he must want him to be back because they're such good friends, then there's no way Kyrie would leave this team. I don't know if Kevin and Kyrie are like that close. And there are many times over the recent history of the NBA, James Harden being one of them, where guys seem like they're close. Kevin Durant and James Harden seem like they're close. And, the other guy decides, I don't really want to be here anymore. Like these players just decide quickly, like, as much as I like going to a fancy dinner with this person and, being on a really nice yacht and maybe watching their game, them as a teammate is not as appealing. It's like you have friends in college who are really fun, but you never want to live with them. Kevin and Kyrie, they're living together.
They're living together. Yeah,
they're not Raja and Shataz. They are.
Shout out to Raja and Shataz. We had this is going to go deep on lore, but we had two like foreign exchange students
They
as
were
our
foreign exchange.
Yeah, they were.
They were from. It wasn't like they
Raja
were
was from Jordan. There was no
but they weren't
exchange.
It was like
just
we were
foreign.
shipping
You're right.
Americans over to Jordan
That's fair.
and Thailand.
That's a good point. They were just foreign. And
they were great.
And they were great. And I love Raja. I didn't tell you this. I bumped into Raja like a month ago, just like walking around the Lower East Side. He's doing well. He's got 2 kids now. 2 kids. Lives in Boston.
Can't imagine him as a.
I know it's.
I actually can't imagine him as a dad. It would just be.
He was taking a bunch of like Morgan Stanley guys out to karaoke. I was like, "What is going on here?"
Great.
Anyways, let's get back on track. Is there a point to all this? Oh, the point is that we should not be so certain that this goes with anything friend related at high stakes, anything, but specifically to Kyrie Irving, because we keep seeing this over and over again where people are like, "We like Kyrie Irving. We're friendly with Kyrie Irving. This is going well," but that's what they say, like out of their mouths, and then their actions are they has to be traded immediately to other teams, or he's traded to other teams.
Bill Simmons. We talk about Bill Simmons, right?
We often do.
So Bill Simmons used to be furious with Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, where last postseason when the Nets dominated the Celtics in the playoffs,
God, those were good times.
Kyrie was hugging Jaylen and Jason, and they were seeking out Jaylen and Jason, Kyrie to hug him postgame after Kyrie stomped on Lucky. After he blasphemed Lucky. So desecrated Lucky. And so there was an anger of like, how could they like this guy Kyrie? He quit on the team and then left and lied that he said he was going to be here and he wasn't. Jaylen Jason like seemed to really generally like Kyrie Irving, but he's also gone. Like their relationship with Kyrie didn't keep Kyrie in Boston. Kyrie and Kevin Durant could be good friends, and it may not keep him here. So we're all saying all this just to say, let's be prepared that, I'll say this. If we remember back, and I didn't dig through all the quotes, but like postseason, after the season was over and all the interviews with Kevin Durant and Kyrie, the press conferences, when either of them were asked what they're going to do next season. I mean, most of the questions were Kyrie. And Kyrie's quotes were much more about, like, he sounded like a desperate boyfriend whose girlfriend is about to go to Puerto Vallarta on spring break with all of her sorority friends and also happened to be in the same hotel as a group of guys from the lacrosse team.
Oh, boy.
It was like Kyrie was like, I don't want to leave 7.
We've talked about that lacrosse house. You can kiss them goodbye.
Hey,
Party
they're nice guys. Hey, they're nice. They're respectful. Yeah. They're respectful. You don't have to worry about them, Johnny. Johnny, don't worry about them. Okay. But Kyrie, the Kyrie's quotes were more about wanting to be with Kevin Durant. And if he truly wanted to be with Kevin Durant, this should be a no-brainer situation, right? Like if Kyrie's like, I want to be here, I want to be running the team with Kevin, that's what I want to do. It should be very easy then for Kyrie to be like, I will commit to do what I got to do to be here with Kevin Durant. I don't think Sean Marks is hearing the commitment, right? No. And I think there's great unease within the organization. I'll also say this. Okay, yes.
Well, I was going to say also, like, just in keeping with, like, Kyrie Irving's exit strategy from his previous teams, like, the reason that, like, he's been very decisive in the past, right? It seems to be that, like, when he wants to move on from something, it happens pretty quickly, decisively. Boom, you know, I want to trade. Boom, I'm signing with free agency with taking no meetings from the Nets. Like, that's been, in this case, there's the beginnings of rumblings, which to me suggests that, like, while there is mutual discontent, like, there isn't another option really for Kyrie. Like, where is the, like, decisive, I want to go here? Like, there's no logical next landing spot for him presently with the baggage that he's bringing to the table. So it's like
it's really good, Brian.
Oh, thanks. It's like the
well, also I'm hearing the rumblings too, and it's like Kyrie doesn't do rumblings. Kyrie does, as you're saying, he does quick sort of these decisions. He makes the decision, right?
Right.
Well, even though there were plenty of rumblings when he wanted to leave Boston, that was because he made the decision that I want to leave Boston, but he was still playing on the team. So it wasn't really rumblings. It was just like sound from his decision. You're right, though, that there's just not – the Lakers is the place because LeBron is there. Mm-hmm. You know, Daddy LeBron is waiting for him. He is waiting for him in Los Angeles. You could see Kyrie saying – you know, Kyrie has come out and said very recently that he's the one who screwed up what happened in Cleveland, that they should have won more championships together, and he regrets that. Mm-hmm. That was a weird thing to say. I think he said it on Kevin Durant's podcast, even though Kevin Durant wasn't on the pod. Wasn't he? Wasn't Kevin Durant not on the pod?
He was not. It was just Eddie.
Eddie?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow,
Mike, yeah, you're right.
What's going on there?
Oh, Mike. If I had a podcast, I'd bring you on.
Can I tell you this?
What's up?
There was some hubbub that the fact that I forget where it was reported. I think Shams reported it. Or I apologize to whoever did, and I'm not properly attributing or crediting that Kevin Durant hasn't spoken to Sean Marks so far this offseason. Mm-hmm. You know, and that's an interesting thing, right? Like, they don't have to be texting. Ultimately, what Kevin Durant is doing, which is like showing up to basketball games all around the world and sort of being an ambassador of basketball, is different than what Sean Marks has to do, which is like, do I pay Bruce Brown? Do I pay Nick Claxton? Right? Like, so those are very sort of different decisions. But that nugget would make it seem like if Sean Marks was going to get rid of Kyrie, it's almost like Durant is purposefully staying away from talking to Sean Marks, so it looks like he is not responsible for what happens to Kyrie. I'm just saying, we're playing this out a little bit. Like, if it makes it look like he hasn't talked to Sean Marks, and he can justifiably say, "Hey, I had nothing to do with this."
Yeah,
you know, it's like Marilyn Manson had nothing to do.
Another
right?
part of the
he wasn't there.
Tug of war too is like, and
Marilyn Manson, no,
Marilyn Monroe,
no. Who's the psycho who had the hippies kill?
Marilyn Charles Manson.
Jeez, Marilyn Manson.
Yeah.
Apologies,
but that's where he got the name from. The other part of it too is like, and I don't want to continue to talk about like invoking LeBron because we've already put that into the universe more than anybody, and we got our just rewards in clickbait clicks. Like we did our part. So I don't want to put that up.
We
there.
Jumped the shark.
Yeah.
We were like,
but
sucks.
There is, I would imagine, like there's a very different vibe, I don't know how to say it, or like, you know, sort of hierarchy maybe at play with if LeBron comes to the Nets versus if Kyrie goes to the Lakers. Like it's there's a sort of equitability that's on the line where, you know, if Kyrie goes to the Lakers, he's yet again a guy, you know, who's underneath LeBron in this hierarchy because that's so his team, it has been for years. In a world in which LeBron goes to the Nets, they are much more sharing the second fiddle, you know, sort of position to the one that you know, James Harden left in you know, a blaze of glory. so maybe sharing the second fiddle with Kyrie is less comfortable than we're letting on. But anyways, that's more what's at stake in that. So I don't know if there's, anything that we want more detail on that. But it just feels like an important thing. If he's going to go with LeBron anywhere, it feels like it would be better to do it in Brooklyn. But anyways.
And we're having this conversation like people are probably yelling out, yeah, but what trade would make sense? Like, there's no way Russell Westbrook, the Nets would want Russell Westbrook. And we will do those podcasts. I could come up with 10 fake trades right now if we really want to do that. Even though I'm saying trust somewhat the gossip mongers, I also don't want to go full tilt and be like, here are the 10 Kyrie Irving trades, though probably our next podcast will be titled 10 Kyrie Irving
It's going to be long. Once this, it already feels like we've been.
It's not that long, man. Like, when's the draft? The draft's end of June?
Yeah.
Like, pretty much. And then, obviously, free agencies,
Dude, come August. I mean.
No, the free agency's the
No,
start
I know.
of,
I'm just saying. I'm just like really. Like this is going to
what
be a
I'm
long
saying is
offseason.
these things are
I know,
going
they're
to
gonna
happen
soon. Yeah.
Like, so that's the funny thing about the NBA, where like the NBA Finals happens, it's exciting, all that stuff, and then immediately after the NBA Finals, there's no sort of like the victory parade is something that no one gives a crap about because we got to talk free agency, we got to talk draft, we got to get things moving. That is the cycle. Mm-hmm. This team, like within this month, will have. I mean, Kyrie, I don't know when his player option date is, and maybe we should have a special live show. I don't know. Player option date for Kyrie Irving. This is me typing it in. Nets offseason preview. This isn't giving me the information that I want. But anyway, so it would probably be before free agency began, I would guess, that he would have to decide to pick that up or decline it.
Yeah. And what's the deal with the sign and trade? Like, does it have to be instantaneous, or like what's the is there some kind of like statute of limitations on the
So Kyrie could opt in. Technically, Kyrie could opt in and get traded, right? So he could opt in and get traded, or he could do a sign and trade where he opts out and then it's a sign and trade. And the type of deal that the Nets could probably pull off, there's a couple of them, right? You could just trade him into salary cap space, like to one of these really bad teams, and the Nets just get a massive trade exception, right? They could do that. Or it could be sort of what happened with D'Lo, us sending D'Angelo Russell to Golden State, which is, the Nets get like a little sliver.
Yeah.
Two quick questions. If Kyrie, who actually wants to leave, if someone wants to leave? Is it that Kyrie actually wants to leave, or is it the Nets are like, F this stuff, like we're out of the Kyrie Irving business?
And this is why I keep going back to like the contractual negotiations, because we meant like some kind of like CBA lawyer to pop on this, because I don't actually know.
Oh, I am. That's funny. I am that. I took the baby bar. Shout out Kim Kardashian. And
is that the baby bar?
No, I've never heard of in my life.
Baby
do you,
bar?
Do you know what the baby bar is?
I heard that she passed the bar, but it sounds like that was a lie, that she passed a baby bar.
Is that a real thing? Have you ever heard of a baby bar before, or conversation?
I've never. Just now is the first time I'm hearing it.
Yeah, that's she talks about it constantly on her show, and no one has any idea what a baby bar is.
Interesting.
Just
basically
sounds like a bar where you don't have to go to you don't have to go to law school to get to pass. I don't understand it. Good for her though. Billionaire.
What the hell was I just saying? Oh, so I would think that like in the CBA, in renegotiating any of this, like it would have to be like you'd have to invoke the entire union to make any kind of like change like this. So I doubt very much that anything like this is on the table. But like what Sean Marks was saying about like buy-in. What does that mean? What does it matter to just be like, hey, handshake agreement, Kyrie Irving, you're bought in now. Like, good on us. We've solved our problems. Like, no, you need to put something in writing, and there needs to be consequences. I'm sure that's like they're internally like, is there any path?
No, it's easy. It's easy. Like that thing is all it is simply like incentives for games played. And the like you can't exceed the max salary slot anyways. So the incentives, like let's say his base salary is $25 million, and the next 10 to 15 million is all based off of do you play 20, 40, whatever amount of games you're doing. But again, the incentive structure of that is money, and we've talked about before. I don't think it's not that he doesn't care about money, but he chose not to get vaccinated and gave up $20 million or whatever it was to not get vaccinated. He fully knew he was going to lose a bunch of money. And so far, I've not heard that he's filing for a grievance to get that money back. So the moves that he makes seem not to be based around money. So any incentive structure in his contract will be unsuccessful because ultimately Kyrie's going to be like, all right, well, I mean, what? It's not. I don't care. It's not money that I care about. He's going to make whatever money he's going to make, and
yeah. And I'm actually trying to think about how that's actually beneficial for the Nets because like you're not making decisions based on money. It's mostly based on like quality of life, location, so on and so forth. So that's a big advantage for you. Like the Nets are holding some leverage here to a certain extent. There's an economic leverage that's like undisputable. Like if he signs long term, like there's a whole bunch of stuff that makes him like difficult to trade and so on and so forth. So it's not that like there's no leverage from Kyrie, but it's also not to say that like basically everything that we've seen so far suggests that like Kyrie would prefer to be on the Nets, and it's mostly about like them coming to terms on this vague commitment notion thing that I think is those incentives are like basically like that's sort of what I mean to say is that like yes you can put incentives in there but that's not like contractually binding. You can't blow up a deal over it. You can't that's just another way for him to like sit home again. These like these little bonuses or whatever for showing up to work.
Yeah, it all goes back to like like if you don't care about showing up for games, there's very little that's going to make you super, like, he's going to have these sabbaticals. So, like, can the Nets get enough out of him during the regular season so that there can be some cohesiveness so they feel confident going up into play? Like, I would almost tell him, Kyrie, here's what we're going to give you a winter break, okay? You go to training camp with us, start the season with us, play 20 games with us. Then you'll get 10 games off. Like, I would give him PTO, okay? That's how I would structure it. As opposed to saying, we want you for 82, I would say, Kyrie, 82, that's old-fashioned. No, Kyrie, we want you for 62. You're going to get 2 10-game breaks during the season, and we'll line it up with Kevin. We'll try to figure it out so you guys are maximizing your time. But let's not – because you're not going to get a full season out of Kyrie Irving. And
Are you ready for my this is my last little bit, impassioned fan plea. Yeah. I really wish that Kyrie, and there's still time to do this, but I really wish that Kyrie would have – like, we got a lot of like hemming and hawing about him taking the vaccine or whatever, and like he came in with this sort of like kind of like
an understatement.
Yeah,
we a little hemming and hawing,
and then like the sort of like non-answer of that it was about like employment. He was like advocating for people against the mandates, whatever the case. I would like it if he was like, look, there's like five ways to Sunday that like I have problems with vaccines. That's like, I don't need to get into that exactly. Like there's a lot of faith stuff, there's a lot of history stuff, whatever. That's my journey. I get that it's unpopular. Here's what I want to say is like, I know that it cost an immense toll on the continuity of this team. I understand that it was so important to me that I did need to like, take out a loan on everyone's patience for this year. And I want to make good on that for next year because I know that was a lot to take on. And he's really sort of never even broached the subject. And in fact, he kind of like went right back on Twitter almost immediately after we got swept out of the first round and started like talking that same bullshit about puppets and media and like all this other stuff. And it's like, dude, that part of your brand sucks so bad. It's so lame. Like I get that. Like I would say that because
that's where he gets the positive energy from. He gets those people on Instagram and Twitter saying, "You get him, Kyrie." Yeah. Like that's what he gets from doing that, and that's why he constantly kind of drops. I mean, because also he feels this way about pawns. Like and then he gets all the people tweeting at him saying, "Yeah, you a king, Kyrie," and stuff like that. And it's like, all right, well, he's not. I mean, he's not available. I don't know what chess piece he is. It's like when you get a pawn all the way to the end and then it turns into like a super pawn. What's the thing? I don't really
a double pawn. You stack 2 pawns on top of each other.
Yeah, a super pawn.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Mario Brothers. He ate the mushroom.
You're thinking of chess where you stack it. But no, I mean it happens but the super when you stack 2 on top of each other.
When you get a pawn to the end, you
just
swap it out.
Get a queen. Yeah.
Yeah, you get to
or a rook if you're playing with your hands tied behind your back.
No, this is a better analogy. Kyrie is a McFlurry, never available, delicious. But every time you go to McDonald's, they're not available. Like the machines are broken, and they're still on. I can still see them on the menu. I'm excited. Reese's.
Well, come on, he played like 25 games. 25 McFlurries you had. It's a lot of McFlurries, Mike. That's
Not
crazy.
enough for me. Wait. All right. Well,
We did it.
wait. I think I had one tiny little question.
Okay.
Final thought. If Kyrie gets traded, it's because Kevin Durant is 100% on board.
Oh, 1,000%.
Okay. I think we just need to say that because like there may be reports where like Kevin Durant wasn't involved, but regardless of how Sean Marks and Joe Tsai may feel about Kyrie Irving never being available for this team when they want him to, the lack of continuity, the debacle with the vaccine, all the injuries, the sabbatical that is still kind of unexplained, and we try to attribute to other things. If Kevin Durant 100% wants to play with Kyrie Irving, then Kyrie should actually be on this team. So if Kyrie is traded or allowed to go elsewhere, it leads me to believe that Kevin Durant is like, okay, yeah, that's fine. I don't really care. I have the boardroom. Anyways, thank you all for listening.
Classic episode, Mike. We did it. No, that was great. You did it. Thanks for having me.
45 minutes of nothing. Hey, there you
What
go.
are you talking about? That was great content.
No, that was good. That was
capital
smart.
C content. We're coming out with that content.
Check us out on Twitter at BK Glue Guys. Apple Podcasts, 5 stars. We need them when I have them. And
Join the
Spotify.
Discord. Smash the everything, all the buttons. Subscribe, like everything. Blah, 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 blah. Bye, everybody. Bye, 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 bye.